Hey everybody, good afternoon or early evening to you, wherever you may be, or nighttime for those of you following from afar. Gonna wait for some mods. Mike, how are you? We're having a downpour. We're having some crazy weather. Just this Colorado weather this year is just nuts. It's totally unpredictable. We had a thunder and lightning storm at 5 a.m. That's unheard of. Hey guys, how's it going? David, Liberty Blair. Aurora, Transparency, how are you, lady? Good to see you in here. Thanks for being in here. I need mods because we're going to have some information going out today. I need a call to action, you guys. Bokomo, how are you? Yay, I'm glad you're here. I'm streaming on my new phone, so mods, there's a message held for review. I can't view it. I don't know why. I'm assuming you'll take care of everything in here, please. AnCap, how are you? Anon Mouse, how are you? Irish Rover, yay. So, hi Jeannie. It's been storming here since this morning, sunny and 91 out. So yeah, we've got some humidity. You can always tell when Reagan's hair is super duper crazy and like Velcro. We've got humidity. We just had a complete downpour. Now it's going to lighten up. So I want to jump into this because there are some serious problems. And I need support on this. I need knowledgeable people that understand the atrocities that occur when law enforcement incompetence and arrogance rules the day. Okay? And this is specific to Cowboy's death investigation. It's good picture quality. Thank you. I'm glad to hear that. Lou, how are you? And this is all specific to Cowboy, Mr. Steve Olson. So none of this has been easy. This has been unsettling and very unnerving almost every day since this happened. For a lot of obvious reasons. Number one, we always have to rely on the government to tell us the truth. Hey Clinton, thanks for being in here. So we got a good crop of mods. Thank you very much, you guys. Yeah, Jenny, thank you. I believe Destiny is in the stream. I don't know if she's commenting or just in here to listen, but there will be absolutely zero tolerance for any bullshit. If you say anything that my mods deem derogatory about my people or their families, you are banned from my channel. We don't have much of a problem with that anymore, but there is zero tolerance for trolling on my vulnerable people. And it's never been tolerated. I just want to remind everyone, I'm sure because I said it, we're going to get an onslaught of trolls here for the next few minutes, that the mods are going to, boom, get them out. No warning, no nothing. So, having to rely on government to tell us the truth about a death investigation, and when it involves the police, okay? I just want to say right off the bat that as bad as Denver is at some things, they were not bad at handling at least me and my questions specific to Jesse. Now, granted, yes, I wrote to one of the division chiefs and I said, I got this report and this is a problem and I need to be put in contact with someone intelligent that isn't going to be an arrogant asshole. So please put me in contact with that person. And he did. And lo and behold, it was a working relationship. Okay? Because I wasn't greeted with arrogance and incompetence. These men in law enforcement that have this overwhelming presence of arrogance, it's typically done because they are wildly incompetent. And when you have a woman asking you some questions who's getting right to the point and you're a fucking moron, your first go-to is to start choking on your balls. And then if you're really stupid, like so many of them are, you double down. And then Regan starts making you choke on what's left of your circumcision or lack thereof. And if you keep doubling down, you eventually like choke yourself to death on your own little dick. It's really avoidable, and all these things could be taken care of quickly and swiftly if you're not like that. But unfortunately, once again, we've come across some real stellar men in the Adams County Sheriff's Department. Okay? And so we've got a problem. So the mods are going to start putting some contact information in here. And what I am asking is for people that knew Cowboy, that know the importance of not allowing law enforcement to brush death investigations under the rug that involve homeless individuals. Those of you that have watched Cowboy's story, those of you that have known how hard we've been fighting for housing, for those of you that know, I want you to write the Adams County Internal Affairs email address that's going to be posted to you here shortly. And I want you to tell them, on top of my complaint, they better find a way to get somebody on this case that has a brain, number one. Number two, that isn't a fucking liar. And number three, that isn't a raging, arrogant prick. That would be the first start. Now, whatever language you decide to use to get that across, that's up to you. But I would ask that you ask for a response. Because here's the other problem. You can't get anybody's contact information over at the Adams County Sheriff's Department. They've got a new sheriff who was just sworn in January. He obviously doesn't get that professional standards isn't available right away. For whatever reason, their link wasn't working when I was trying to access to be able to file a complaint. But then it started working and took me to a fillable form. You know what? I filled out your form. I'm not printing it and signing it and scanning it and sending it back to you. You can take it in an email. So there's an email address that's going to be popping up for you. And there's a case number associated with Cowboy's case. And that's also, there we go. Clinton, thank you. Bokomo, thank you. Just randomly throughout, could you please continue to post that information? Because this is just getting started. There are way too many unanswered questions, and this has been very, very bad from the day he was found. Okay? And to back up, so you have a little bit of a backstory, which, by the way, if Adams County would have done an investigation, they would have already had all of this information, and they would have been able to complete a very good and thorough investigation. But they decided that since it was a homeless person, we ain't gonna do shit. And then the first responding female deputy on the scene, they made her alter her report. Found that out today. I believe that she's probably the only one that did her job correctly. And finally, I've got the report, and I'm going to read some of it. And so you have some of this background and understanding. But I first want to tell you what we know. And I'm working with Destiny, Steve's daughter. Destiny as a young lady being faced with something most people will never be faced with in their life when it comes to death. Losing her dad on the streets, homeless, okay? And I know that we haven't talked about this any further with Destiny, but I need you to understand what's going on in her life. And she's okay with you understanding what's going on in her life. And if Adams County had any fucking scruples about them, they would be understanding that as well. So they could complete this investigation so this young lady can get her questions answered. And I'm very, very thankful that she allowed me, and I've done nothing that the family hasn't given me approval to do or asked me to do or said, yes, please do it. But I wanted to take on this piece of this investigation because I knew it was going to be a problem. I haven't slept well at all since the day Steve died, because the things we've learned are exceptionally questionable. And the more we seek answers, the more complicated it gets. And I wonder why that is. I'll tell you why it is. It's because they're lying and they didn't do an investigation. Okay? Denver at least was smart enough by the time they knew. And I'm sorry, but I shouldn't have to ask for you to make special accommodations for me because you know I'm going to crawl up your ass. I should be treated like the rest of the general population deserves to be treated. Okay? I rarely, but I've had to lately because of Denver and all their bullshit targeting. I've had to say, guess what? You're going to have to make special accommodations for me because you have a crop of liars and detectives that write bogus warrants for me and a bunch of cops that have small dicks that get their feelings hurt, so they throw shit to the wall and see what sticks and throw me in jail. So you're going to have to make some special accommodations because you don't treat me like the rest of the general population, okay? I'll tell you why. Yeah, that's how you know a cop is lying. Their lips are moving. Except when they're on the phone, Clinton, it takes less time to figure it out when you're on the phone with them, right? So I haven't asked Adams County for anything. I've followed all their process that the general public would be expected to follow. And lo and behold, I've been treated like pure shit, like I'm an idiot, and I need to cut my attitude. Well, let me tell you something, Detective Wilson. He called me today, and he decided that he wanted to see exactly how big his dick was. He didn't give a shit that he was doing a death investigation. Okay? So, one of two things happened with this dumb shit. He either Googled me before he decided to make that phone call and said, yep, I'm going to show this bitch. Or he's that incompetent that he didn't listen to the 30-second message that I left him on his voicemail, being very specific about the reason for my call, the case number, who I was, and what I was trying to accomplish for the family. You will get treated with respect right off the bat from me. The second. There's no more 30 seconds allowed for you. The very second you turn to dick mode, you're going to get treated like a dick. This guy left with his dick down his throat by the time that phone call was over. But let me back up, and we're going to talk about why this went down the way it did. So, on June 27th, Destiny, Steve's daughter, was contacted by the Mesa County Sheriff's Department. That's 4 hours away from the Denver metro area. Destiny had been working very hard to reestablish this relationship with her dad. They were almost in a position where Destiny was going to bring her daughter, Steve's only grandchild, 3-year-old, and they were going to meet for the first time. Okay? And this was all happening based on Denver's programming to get him housing. Which, by the way, we've been dealing with this for 2 years. Okay? 2 years, solid. And Steve has been shuffled all over the place. He's lost thousands and thousands of dollars worth of possessions. He's been kicked to every curb, cul-de-sac, alley, every part of the city. He's been criminalized out of Inglewood. The list is long, and there are a lot of videos of me and Steve on my channel and things that we've been through and all the adversity we got to. Okay? And Denver still couldn't get it done. Okay? So Destiny gets this news on June 27th. And within hours of the coroner removing Steve's body from his motel room where he was found dead by motel staff, I was there to clean out his room. Shits and Giggles and I, my good friend Sal. Sal, hey, thanks for being in here. Yeah, you need to listen to this because you've heard and seen things too. So Sal and I go clean out his room. And I haven't talked real publicly about the circumstances around his death because we needed more information. And I know that Destiny is okay talking about it now and letting me talk about it. It's also a grieving process for me because Steve had laid dead in his room for more than 2 days. That's the information we have now. And so that site was not, it was not something I ever want to do again. Okay? And I went in to clean out my friend's motel room that I should have been checking on him more often. But Denver, in all their infinite wisdom, and this is still coming down the pike, I have to figure out who exactly was in charge of that programming in that motel that left all those men stuck in those rooms and unchecked. Okay? Because they had rules for their programs. And these people needed to be in those rooms. And they were checked on repeatedly when they were down at the Aloft in downtown Denver. And then that contract ended. So they stuffed them in this motel and nobody checked on them. Okay? And I'm not saying that adult people need a babysitter 24/7. But the man lay dead in the room for likely 3.5 days now. We've figured out. Okay? So there's that. There's that. And the only reason the motel staff went up to that room, and it wasn't the motel staff's job, except that they're receiving money from the city, and they're still running that motel to the general public as well. So why there wasn't housekeeping? The program typically requires these guys to request housekeeping. I get some of that, but 3 days for a dead body? 3 days in a room that I just learned today had no air conditioning, no working air conditioning on the second floor. Okay? So that's what Sal and I walked into the day Steve was found dead. And let me tell you, it wasn't pretty to have to deal with it at all. Okay? It was horrendous. But we did it. And Sal, I will never be able to thank you enough for being there that day. It all fell together for whatever reason. Sal was in the area. He had time at that moment to be over there to help me. I was the only one that could get over there to get that stuff out of his room. We didn't know what happened. Poor Destiny was, dealing with this news 4 hours away. She has nobody here in the metro area. Okay? So it had to get done. But I'm going to tell you, if Sal had not been there, I couldn't have done it. I couldn't have done it. I would have shut the door and went and found help. But we got through it. But then I had some conversations with the motel staff. And some things they were telling me didn't add up. Okay? And again, this is a call to action. You need to tell the Adams County Sheriff's Department that they better find a detective and his sergeant that can deal with us getting answers. Please. I've already filed a complaint. I've already spent 2 hours on the phone fighting with these fucking morons today. After I did a records request on 7/5 for the report, okay? So I did a formal open records request. As Destiny was dealing with the coroner, they kept referring her back to the investigation, telling her, those answers you're going to have to get in the death investigation through the Adams County Sheriff's Department. Destiny's overwhelmed in all of this process. And let me tell you something else. The father of Destiny's child, I like that. Okay, that brought me back to Destiny's sweet child. The father of her child shot himself in the head in the middle of all of this. Okay? I think this young lady has probably had just about everything that a person would ever ask for to have to deal with and unravel in their entire life. Okay? No, Plowboy, they don't care about complaints, but they're gonna. This time, they're going to. And we are going to make them. Okay? So tell them for me. You are dealing with a woman who's not going to go away. So you better figure it out, Adams County, because the world is watching. Okay? The world is watching now. And my friend is dead. Destiny's father is dead. And someone very well liked in the community is dead. And these fucking idiots thought that they were just dealing with one of those worthless, homeless drug addicts that they were going to kick under the rug. Yep. Well, remind them. Remind them who they're dealing with. Please. And tell them that they better find somebody that can deal with me. So Destiny has a lot on her plate. Okay? She absolutely needs all of the support we can give her. Okay? Every bit. And I intend to do just that. And I also want answers. Okay? So on 7/5, I do this records request. And the records department responds appropriately at the Adams County Sheriff's Department. Okay? But too much time has gone by. And I don't have this report. Okay? So I get on the phone. And I call the records department. And I don't know what the deal is with customer service. Yes, I do know what the deal is with customer service. We're dealing with a new generation that talks in emojis and acronyms. Okay? I'm so sick of the shit that goes on over the phone. So I call the records department, and the first person that answers says, this is with the Adams County Records Department. Can I help you? I'm sorry, who am I talking with? This is with the Adams County Records Department. Can I help you? Yeah, you can help me by one, enunciating your words so I know who I'm talking to. And two, I need to know what's going on with this case report, please. Yes, please hold. I'm on hold. This young person gets back on the phone. So I don't know what can't complete a sentence, can't enunciate any words. I said, please get me your supervisor. I can't understand anything you're saying on the telephone. Okay, so I get on the phone with Diane, the supervisor. You know what it is? It's because these kids don't know how to talk. It's because they've been sitting behind a computer being raised by emojis and acronyms. And it's the fucking truth. And they're hiring these people in government because nobody wants them in the private sector. It's the truth. But Diane gets on the phone. She's very professional, very cordial, right to the point, pulls up the case and tells me, this isn't releasable. It's got to have a sergeant's signature on it, and it's going back to the original responding deputy for clarification. Okay? That's what Diane tells me. So I question Diane a little bit more and tell her, okay, so when that becomes available, are you going to send that over to me? Absolutely. We're going to send it over to you at no charge, because Diane took the time to understand what I was doing, why I was getting that report, and why this death investigation report was crucially important. So Diane in the records department knew this. Okay? Well, today rolls around, I still don't have that case report. Something is wrong. I already knew something was wrong from the beginning. Okay? This whole thing is there's way too many questions. The hotel staff told me when I asked them some questions, they went in Steve's room because the neighbors were complaining about the smell. So they had entered the room before any law enforcement or any first responders showed up. Okay? So there's that real important note. Okay? They also told me that he was face down on the floor and that he appeared fully dressed in jeans. They couldn't remember if he had boots on or shoes. The woman that was with the maintenance man, who I spoke with both of them, said they were the ones that found him, even told me that he may have had a hat on. Now, the coroner is telling Destiny, telling Steve's daughter, that he came in what appeared to be biker shorts or underwear and a t-shirt. There's a big difference there in that. And we want to know these answers because Destiny and I have been able to unravel that we believe Steve was having a medical emergency. And based on how the room looked when Sal and I were in there, his phone and the charger were plugged into a power strip just a little bit away from the bed. Okay? So that's a big red flag, number one there. Number two, the coroner told Destiny they suspect a drug overdose because they found drug paraphernalia. Okay? Now that I have the report today, no drugs were found. Paraphernalia and a baggie were found. Now, we could go down this big philosophical rabbit hole again about drug use. I'm going to tell you something about Cowboy. I'm 99.9% certain that I understood his drug habit. What I've learned through Denver and coroners, that anytime there's drugs in the system, they get to immediately look at drug toxicity being a cause of death. We don't know what the cause of death was. Okay? Bottom line. We're waiting for the toxicology and waiting for the coroner's report. And as you know, government works when they decide they're going to work at whatever speed they decide to work at. So, they've told Destiny that it's going to be maybe 6 to 8 weeks. Now today they're telling me 2 to 3 months, right? I mean, just whenever. We'll get it to you when we get to you. Well, the sooner you get this done, the better. Because even Denver's coroner had everything back to us within a couple of weeks when we asked for it. Okay? So there's a way to get shit done if you want to get shit done. So those are the things that Destiny and I were trying to figure out. Because guess what? Now that Cowboy has been cremated and his remains have been picked up by his daughter, she also got his personal belongings, which included his cell phone. So the coroner had his cell phone. The Adams County Sheriff's Department knew the coroner had the cell phone. Do you think they bothered to do an investigation with that cell phone? Absolutely not. Now, Denver tells me the proper way to unravel the solvability of any type of homicide, number one, is a cell phone. Remember, Jesse didn't have a cell phone. Cowboy has a cell phone in his room. Okay? So the coroner takes it. Well, apparently that's how the coroner figured out that Destiny was his next of kin. Destiny and myself were the last two people that talked to Cowboy. Evidence and body stayed together to protect the chain of evidence. So what the fuck? Yeah, you tell me. I don't know. So doesn't the sheriff's department coordinate with the coroner to do an investigation? I don't know. You tell me. How come the sheriff's department didn't have the cell phone? Why'd the coroner have the cell phone? It's because the sheriff's department said, fuck this. We're not doing anything. That's why. That's exactly why. So we get the cell phone back. Hey, so this isn't DMA's channel. This is my channel. Sound good? If you want to go watch DMA, go on over there. But this isn't a DMA promotion. So that's your only warning. The next time, you're timed out. Okay? So the longer this goes on, the more questions we have. And we're not getting answers. So I called Detective Wilson today and left him a message this morning. It was a very nice, professional, cordial message. He called me back, and when I answered the phone, the first words out of his mouth, yeah, this is Detective Wilson. Well, hi. Thank you for calling me back. Uh-huh. Okay, so about the voicemail I left you, I'm kind of curious to figure out why I can't get this case report, because I was told by records that it had to go back to the original deputy. Yeah, I don't know why it's not releasable. Okay, so when is it going to be released? Well, I don't know. What's the case number? I said, you're calling me back and you don't even know what case you're calling me back about? What's with the attitude? I said, what's with my attitude? I'm going to tell you what's with my fucking attitude. And it went downhill from there. Okay? Then I asked him for his sergeant's number. And as he kept running his mouth, I kept running mine. And he was intentionally trying not to give me that phone number of Sergeant Hernandez, which I finally got it. And I called him a fucking dick and hung up on him and called his sergeant and started to explain the situation to him, which, I mean, he just answered his phone that quick, too. Imagine that. I said, this is Regan Benson, and I just talked to Detective Wilson. Did he let you know I'd be calling? No. What's this about? So I told him. And then he proceeded to want to go down this route that, boy, you sound really mad. Yeah, I am mad. So I want some questions answered. And so how's this going to work? So then he pulled up the report. And he proceeded to tell me that he doesn't know why it's not releasable either. He has no idea. Oh, you should get this. Oh, okay, let me skim through this. So yeah, the detective showed up. He looked around. He didn't see any foul play. I said, what exactly is your definition to looked around? He didn't want to answer that question. He wanted off the phone as soon as I started to point out all the disparities in what was going on. And he continued to talk over me and continued to interrupt me. And I said, call Diane in records and let me know when I'm going to get that report, Sergeant, and call me back. because I'm already sending Detective Wilson to IA. So, an hour or so goes by. I continue to try to make calls over to Adams County. I file a complaint with IA. Can't get a hold of anybody. The commander's on vacation. The sergeant doesn't answer his phone. You go into the phone system. They transfer you over to the jail. The jail's the new customer service for the whole sheriff's department. Let me get you back over to Susie over in so-and-so's office, and Susie gets me over to the commander in professional standards, and it turns out he's on vacation till the 31st after I asked Susie if she could just call and get him on the phone so I could talk to, right? So you know how all that went. Well, Sergeant Hernandez eventually called me back after I blew up the email in professional standards, and he had some news for me. He let me know that the deputy, the first responding deputy, needed to change her report because she named Steve as the victim in her initial report. The very first responding deputy on the scene after the motel staff had already been in his room wrote a fantastic narrative, and I'm going to read it to you. And there was a technicality in that, according to Sergeant Hernandez, in that she just put it in the wrong spot. On an unattended death like that, you can't be the victim. So, yeah, I had to have her change that. And so it's just a technicality, but I don't really know why what wasn't releasable. Well, he's lying. Because Diane, in records, made it very clear that the entire report needed a sergeant's signature. Guess what? It was his signature they needed. Weird, huh? That's kind of weird. Because then Sergeant Hernandez, as I questioned him some more about getting that case report, he tells me, oh yeah, just call records back and ask for D. I said, well, I've been working with Diane because she's the supervisor. Yeah, she's not the supervisor over there. She's just in charge of digital records, over body cam footage and stuff like that. Diane's not the supervisor. D is. Oh, really? Okay, well, I'm going to call over there. But in the meantime, when I get that report and I read it and I have some more questions, will I be directing those questions to you? Well, what questions do you have? No, I'm sorry about this. No, I'm sorry for your loss. I explained to him who Destiny was. He didn't give a fuck. He didn't know Cowboy's name. He kept asking, what's his name? Steve? Yeah, it says here that, he'd been dead for quite some time. I shit you not. This is the Adams County Sheriff's Department. So again, the ask is that you write internal affairs and you tell them that you want an answer and response to who they're going to assign to this case that can actually investigate it and tell the truth and answer the questions that the parties that are asking questions have. That's where we're at with this. So, as Sergeant Hernandez turns into a bigger dick, talking over me again, when I asked him about the camera situation at the motel, kept interrupting me, telling me there was no camera angle showing his room. However, there's cameras on the property that nobody did an investigation on to see if Cowboy came onto the property by himself. Lots and lots of questions. Okay? How about his cell phone? I haven't even got to that question yet because these two were more concerned about measuring each other's dicks because they've fucked this up and lied. Didn't even get to the cell phone. How come nobody contacted Destiny and I as the last people that he had a phone conversation with? How come nobody can answer our question about the phone calls that were made from Steve's phone at Saturday at 4:30 a.m.? It's because they did no investigation. Okay, so back to Sergeant Hernandez. As he continues to talk over me and be a bigger dick, I said, look, I'm not going to ask you any questions. What I'm going to do is send my questions over to Internal Affairs after I read this report. And he kept saying, well, shouldn't you read the report? I said, well, you have it right in front of you, so maybe we can just discuss the questions that I have. Well, I told you there's no cameras. Why don't you read the report? I said, you know what? I'm going to send my questions to IA, you fucking dick. And I hung up, called records. Get this. I called records. Remember Dee? Dee's the supervisor over there, not Diane. Dee gets on the phone. Very courteous, professional. Hi, Dee. My name is Regan Benson. I just talked to Sergeant Hernandez. He told me to give you a call because you're going to release that report to me. Oh, yeah, it's releasable. It needed a sergeant's signature, she says. I said, oh, did it? Just like what Diane told me the other day. It needed a sergeant's signature. Okay, that's great. Okay, well, we'll let you know when it's releasable because we have to redact it now. I said, hold on. No. I said, I was told that I was going to get this case report via email by Diane because Dee said, I'll let them know when you're coming up here, which, by the way, to come up there in Adams County, it's 45 minutes if traffic is good across town. That's why I'd already talked to Diane and said, Diane, can I have this case report sent to me via email? And if there's a charge for it, can you tell me how to pay for it over the phone? Yep, no problem. That was when I talked to Diane before. But now today, Diane's not the supervisor, just Dee. I said, Dee, Diane told me these things. Oh, okay. Hold on. I'm going to go talk to Diane. I said, that's great. Thank you, Dee. Dee gets back on the phone, and Dee tells me, oh, absolutely. Diane did just confirm what you two talked about, and Diane is the supervisor. What are you doing, Sergeant Hernandez? Right? What are you doing? You're lying. Because they know they have fucked this up royally. We are in a very bad situation with getting these answers. So, lo and behold, Dee made sure that I got this case report. And here it is. But there's a lot of stuff missing. Now, if you would like to get this case report, you're free to request it as well. It's public information. But you're probably going to have to pay for it. I don't know. I didn't have to pay for it because I do believe that Diane realized that I was helping the family, and she respected that. Okay? So, again, Bokomo's got the information here. We're writing internal affairs over at the Adams County Sheriff's Department, and we're telling them to get somebody on this case that's going to do their fucking job and not be liars. And work with the family and the advocate who worked very closely with Stephen Olson, who too wants answers and who too is not going away. So here's the case report. And here's the narrative from the responding officer, who I believe, responding deputy, was the only one that did her job correctly. Why did they lie? Because they didn't do an investigation. That's why. On 6/27 at 10:35 hours, Deputy Presidio, Preciado, responded to a DOA at the Super 8 Motel at blah, blah, blah. On scene, I saw Engine 13, Sam 11, and Med 13 in front of the motel room. They advised that the cleaning assistant let them borrow her key to gain access inside of the room. When I approached the room, I could see flies coming in and out of the room. The window was slightly open with a stop lock on it. I could smell a very bad odor coming from inside the room. When I opened the door, the room was slightly lit. I turned on the bedroom lights, and I could see many flies flying around in the room. I saw a male, later identified as Stephen Olson, laying face down with his hand above his head. He was lying towards the far eastern end, just to the west of the bathroom. Stephen was lying on top of a red box that was filled with miscellaneous items. Steve's right arm was tangled on one of the black cords that was connected to the plug just to the right of him, where his cell phone charger was. where his cell phone likely was. There was a black rolling chair right behind Stephen to the south end of the room. Stephen was to the right side of the bed. There was a dark coloring of blood coming from under Stephen. The blood did not look dry. It looked fresh. Stephen's left leg was dark purple and had a bubble form to it. Stephen was not wearing any shoes. He had on a pair of gray briefs and a black shirt. That's not what the hotel staff told me. Where's the investigation? When Stephen was flipped over face up, there was a very bad smell coming from him. Stephen's face was very dark color. I can't read any more of the body details. Let's go to the next paragraph. There was no forced entry to the room. Not that those details do matter. They do. She did a good job documenting the scene. The hotel personnel provided us with a key card to get access inside of the room where Stephen was. The room was about 20 by 80. There were 2 queen-size beds about 2 feet apart from each other, both facing north and south. On the north end of the room, there was a television on top of a dresser. To the right of that, there was a 3 by 15-inch refrigerator that was sitting inside of a wooden stand. Inside of Stephen's room, there was a lot of suitcases. On the first bed, closest to the entrance of the room, there was a suitcase with unknown items. Next to the suitcase, to the southern end of the bed, there was a box with different types of videos inside. On the bed, there was a receipt from the Family Dollar, timestamped 6/23 at around 1500 hours. On the bed, there was a container of cupcakes that was more than halfway empty, with the expiration date of June 15th. On the north end of the room, there was a bicycle with the front end facing the front door. On the bed to the eastern side, there was a wallet, a few chargers, a court document, and some other papers. In between the beds, there was a nightstand. On top of the nightstand, there was a Monster can. Next to the Monster can, there was a receipt to the Circle K at blah, blah, blah. The receipt was dated and timestamped 6/23 at 1943 hours. This is what the coroner has told his daughter was the last time that he was seen on camera. But we have additional questions as to when he actually died, and we're trying to put that timeline together. But thanks to these fucking assholes at the Adams County Sheriff's Department, we can't believe any fucking thing now. To the farthest eastern end, under the bathroom sink, there was about 5 luggages that were filled with clothes. There was nothing strange or out of place inside the bathroom. Stephen was lying face down under a table. Under the table, there was a red box filled with unknown items inside of it. I did not notice any foul play or anything suspicious. There was no obvious trauma when I found Stephen. On top of the table, there was a microwave and a magazine. To the left of the table, there were various cigarette butts. The motel room had no working AC and had probably been out for about 4 to 5 days. The temperature for the last few days have been in the high 80s. There were no visibly cameras on the floor that Stephen was on. Across from Stephen's room to the west, there was also no cameras. I knocked on room blah, blah, blah. There was negative contact. I knocked on room blah, blah, blah and spoke with blah, 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 advised that he did not know Stephen and that he had just kept to himself. I talked to such and such, and he advised that he never saw Stephen or did not know who he was. I talked to so-and-so from room such and such, and he advised that when he works on his car, Stephen walks over and helps him out. So-and-so said that he last spoke to Stephen on 6/26 at 1200 hours, but then he recanted and said he did not know who Stephen was, and he thought we were talking about the resident next door to him. I talked to so-and-so from room such and such, and he advised that he sees Stephen walking around, but he has never talked to him. I talked to so-and-so in room such and such, and he said he keeps to himself and does not talk to anyone. Cowboy hated it there. It's not a good part of town, okay? He didn't want to be there. He was calling me all the time, letting me know that he couldn't eat up there because there was no grocery. There's barely bus access. It was taking him 2 hours to get back down south to where he does his scrap and knows his people and friends and family that he's comfortable with. And I never did anything about it. The crime lab was advised for investigation. They took pictures of the motel room, which, by the way, all of the pictures associated with this case, Destiny is being told she can't see. She has to get a court order. They also took pictures of Stephen once he was flipped on his back. They collected the receipts that were left inside of the room. Who's they? Because there were no receipts in his property. Where are these receipts? What investigation is being done with these receipts? I took pictures of the room before paramedics moved any items. Detectives, this girl isn't a very great writer either, but she tried. Detectives was advised for investigation because of how Stephen was laid face down. It looked suspicious on the way he was found and the fact that Stephen had been laid out for a few days, but the blood still looked fresh. There was a crime scene log filled out. Nothing further to report. Here's the detective's narrative. This Detective Wilson, who showed up and looked around. And there's one supplemental in here from another deputy who did this supplemental after the fact, way after the fact. Probably when I started requesting the records for this, they realized, holy shit, we don't really have anything in here. Here's Detective Wilson's narrative. On 6/27/23, I, Detective T.J. Wilson, was informed of a suspicious death at such and such. When I arrived, I could immediately smell the overwhelming odor of death on the second floor. There were several fully grown flies flying around an open window. Fully grown flies. Yeah, really, Detective Wilson? What did you do? Get a fucking microscope out to follow the size of the flies? There were several fully grown flies flying around an open window and cracked door to the hotel room. I was told the deceased, possibly Stephen Olson, was in the corner of the room, face down, halfway inside a basket on the floor. Deputies on scene described a large volume of dark red fluid escaping and pooling on the floor around the body. Deputies had already completed a canvass of the neighboring hotel rooms. The hotel has recently been painted a gray theme, but the doors on his floor were still dark brown color from before the update. What the fuck does that have to do with anything? The lock, handle, striker plate, and mechanism all appeared to be undamaged. I compared the door to others on the same floor, and all appeared in similar condition. The window deputies found open was cracked a couple of inches. Once inside the room, I found purchased items and receipts from the end of last week. The most recent from the evening of 6/23/23. The room was messy, but not in a way consistent with a disturbance. There were no drugs or alcohol immediately noticeable inside the room. Nothing inside of the room stood out as suspicious. Prior to leaving, the coroner investigator completed a cursory examination of the body. She did not recognize any immediate signs of violence. That's the detective's work. That's it. That's all there is. So, yeah, deal with it. Shove it up your ass. And thank you very much. Love, Adams County Sheriff's Department. You see why I'm pissed? So, there we are. And we haven't even started to unravel why the programming that Denver orchestrated here had no backup to check on any of these people. And we're supposed to trust the results we get from Adams County. And this is how they operate. This is how the coroner and the sheriff's department operate. It's not okay. And so that is the call to action. We have to unravel this piece right now so we can continue to work towards those answers that I need and that Destiny needs. And that's the goal. So again, the call to action is to email Professional Standards and tell them that they've got a detective and a sergeant with their heads up their asses. They're being dishonest, and they better find somebody that's going to be able to deal with this case. Maurice, in my opinion, there is something fishy that has went on. You know, you don't want to assume the worst. I know Cowboy wasn't trying to die. I know Cowboy's very intermittent drug use, and so does everybody else out here that knows him. Was it a heart attack? Was it something, another medical condition like Jesse's, complicated by lack of care? I don't know. But we're not going to know shit, because I don't think we're ever going to get the truth. And I don't trust any of these people in Adams County, not one of them. That doesn't mean I'm going away. And if Destiny has to come back down here and we have to go set a meeting with the actual doctor that did that autopsy, then that's what the fuck we're going to do. Because we are going to get the closure that we need and deserve. And it's not unreasonable. It's what every person would want for someone they cared about. Thank you, Josh. Hey, Rain Nation, did the motel inform anyone the last time the room was cleaned by maids? No. Wouldn't know. And the hotel staff, the two that found him, it was a man and a woman. And the man, the maintenance worker, is named in that initial deputy's report, but the other woman is not. There were two of them that already had made entrance into his room. And they also told us that nobody, the coroner nor the sheriff's department, asked to review any camera footage. None. Everybody just determined that, oh, we don't give a shit. We know they have cameras, because they do. I went and confirmed it. They're all over their buildings. No, it didn't look like there was a camera directly on Steve's door that would have caught Steve's door, but they got cameras capturing the whole property. Nobody asked to see any camera footage? How come nobody investigated that cell phone? A ton of questions. There's a ton of questions. They just don't care. Thank you, Jenny. And because they don't care, they can get away with lying. I don't think that the phone calls and emails will do some good, but not sure how much good it would do. There was no investigation. Well, Clinton, there were a lot of people in there. There's pictures. Destiny asked the coroner for those pictures. They told her no. That she has to get a court order. I mean, how far do they want us to take it? I guess that's the question. We'll do our own investigation. And so far, everything you've done is fucked up, Adams County Sheriff's Department, because you got nothing to back it up. And you got a sergeant lying to me about why that case report wasn't releasable. Why was that responding deputy made to change the report before a sergeant signed off on it? She initially said in this report that Steve was the victim, and the sergeant counseled her into why Steve wasn't the victim? I mean, come on. Is the coroner covering the sheriff's department's ass? Who knows? And this is in a horrible part of town, off the interstate, 58th and I-25. It is a terrible part of Denver and Adams County, and it's right on the border. And this motel is in unincorporated Adams County, which fully lands the whole thing into the Adams County Sheriff's Department. The whole thing. I don't know. But we don't have answers. And the way these two assholes are acting and lying, yeah, we'll probably never get those answers through the sheriff's department. Maybe we're going to have to go back to the coroner. But the coroner keeps telling Destiny, now you got to go back to the criminals investigation side of it. Phyllis, yeah, that's too fishy. Why was she told the doctor that report after the facts? There has to be cameras showing his movements before, public ones or those outside the stores, etc. The coroner told Destiny that they had camera footage of Steve at the Circle K at 7:30 on Friday. However, there were phone calls made from his phone at 4:30 in the morning to activate gift cards. Yeah. Was there somebody else in that room? Destiny got his possessions that were taken with his body by the coroner, which included his cell phone, his EBT card, and 2 gift cards. And that was it. And his ID. I apologize. And his ID. That was it. What was on the death certificate? There's no cause of death. It's still pending. So Destiny has to wait for that final death certificate until the coroner determines a cause of death. Rain Nation, the woman deputy needs to be interviewed separately, perhaps by an independent journalist. I like that idea. What's the question, Amy? Do you find the gift cards? Maurice, did the report show an estimated time date of passing? No. What report? This police report? No. No. Stacy, no one goes under a table to die holding a box. Fresh blood? Yep. Good questions. Yep. The way that initial report is written by that first deputy on the scene, lots of questions. Why was he tangled up in that phone cord or a black cord? She said things didn't look suspicious, kind of, in her report. But then her last closing sentence, I guess she changed her mind as she continued to write through that narrative and say, oh yeah, it did look suspicious. And that is why I called the detective. She called the detective. She's the one that did it. Me neither, Phyllis. That's a good question. Not understanding why, if he died 2 to 3 days, there would still be fresh blood under him. And Sal and I can confirm that fresh blood. Now, maybe we need more explanation from the coroner on how a body that continues to decompose releases its fluids. Is it straight fresh blood? I don't know. I don't deal with dead bodies. Adipose fluid. Yes, I know what that is. But this was red fresh blood. Now, perhaps when they moved his body, there was some skin separation, things like that. Sure. Yeah, I guess. It's very red blood, Clinton. So, Destiny and I fully believe that, I think she still does as well. Thank you, Jenny. That Steve was having a medical emergency. But these stupid assholes keep planting more seeds of doubt in our mind about what we think we know. And we can't get anybody with an ounce of compassion to begin with, let alone a fucking brain, to deal with. So, I don't know what's going to happen from here. Charles, I used to be a removal tech. Never seen fresh blood from a body when I picked them up. I've always seen body fluids, but never fresh blood. There was fresh blood. Yeah, Jay Browning, that's the problem. They aren't trustworthy. Phyllis, I was a nurse for 25 years. This makes no sense for my training and education. Same. Agreed. Again, some questions around moving, decomposing bodies, I suppose, really should only be answered by a doctor. Would hiring a private investigator be feasible or helpful in any way? It would cost a lot of money. You wonder how much money that would cost to get the truth. My heart goes out to Destiny and to Regan. May Cowboy rest in peace. Yeah, that's where we're at, with it. Yeah, when does a person get the option of saying, government, stay away from that body. Do not go near that body. You're untrustworthy. I will handle it. I will get my own investigation team. I will get my own autopsy. I will do everything. Get the fuck away from it. That's the most troubling part in all of this stuff that I've been through with Jesse and now Cowboy, is just government just owns you from birth to death. You have no freedom to know that you're going to get the truth. Ever. It's scary, scary shit. Thanks, Jenny. As a BSRN, this doesn't make sense. Is there a college in town that has a forensic course? Maybe you could get some info from them. Yeah, probably. I'm just so pissed off right now that, I knew this was all wrong. I just knew it, and it just kept getting worse and worse and worse. So, oh, thanks, Jenny. I don't know if I'm a blessing or a curse, but Harry, District 4 sucks. They've got one lieutenant and a couple cops over there that, yeah, we could probably get along and have some intelligent conversation, I believe. But the whole lot of them in District 4. But that's what none of this is about. Um, there are a lot of interesting things occurring in Denver right now with the new mayor taking office. If anybody has seen my community post, the mayor announced that there is a moratorium on sweeps in the city and county of Denver. Yay! And there is an emergency declaration that's been signed by him for the next 7 days, which will go to a vote to city council to extend the emergency. What are they doing with it? Yeah, I'm guessing it's a ploy, to bring hundreds of millions of dollars more from the federal government to only spend, a few $100,000 on the actual people themselves, and then declare, we tried, we did everything we could, now we have to go back to using force. However, but that's what's going on in Denver right now. Bye, Josh. Thank you. Charles, I've been following you for a long time, and you were an angel to people. Well, thanks. But these stories just keep getting more sad and harder to deal with. 6 people that I directly work with have died since September. And each one of them have progressively gotten more questionable and more concerning. So there's not a lot of outreach going on right now. I can't handle it. Am I going to the city council meeting? Probably not. It's politics. And all these people are all about the limelight right now. And they're all going to do and say what people think they need to feel and hear. And then they'll be right back to what they've always done. Bolstering themselves while patting their pockets. What kind of drug paraphernalia? It's a good question. It was a baggie. That's a good question. Give me a second here. I want to find that. Where did I read that? Was that in the initial officer or deputy? I'm still looking. Give me a second. Where did I read that? Destiny, are you in here? Help me. Where did we read that? It was towards the beginning of the report. The beginning of the report is that responding female deputy. Did I read it already, Clinton? What's the name of the motel? You want to call the motel? I don't know that calling the motel makes sense. I believe that staff was mortified. It is the cops that did not interview the motel staff correctly. I thought they were being pretty genuine and honest with me, the motel staff. The woman that was with the maintenance man was pretty mortified. So I can't remember where the paraphernalia was found. Where did I read that? Maybe I'm just repeating that from the coroners telling Destiny that. Because this first responding deputy, she doesn't have anything in her report. In fact, she says that there was a black rolling chair right behind Stephen to the south end of the room. Stephen was to the right side of bed. There was dark coloring of blood coming from under Stephen. The blood did not look dry. It looked fresh. Stephen's left leg was dark purple and had a bubble form to it. Stephen was not wearing any shoes. He had on a pair of gray briefs and a black shirt. When Stephen was flip-faced up, there was a very bad smell. His face was dark in color. Tongue was swollen. Stephen's right arm was very dark and red. Stephen's stomach was also dark red color and covered in blood. These were those additional details about this idea of Stacy told you that on the phone about the drug paraphernalia, because yeah, there's nothing in writing here. I mean, if you want to be calling the motel, you need to be calling the cops and asking them why they didn't do this investigation correctly. I don't know. What if there was foul play with the motel staff? I don't know. What if they're the ones lying to me? I don't know. And the only supplemental notes are from this Deputy Holgyn, Holgyn, responded to the motel for a DOA. Upon arrival, I saw Deputy Preciado, that's the female deputy, go to room blah blah blah. So I contacted the reporting party, who is the maintenance guy, who is the maintenance worker at the motel. He stated about 10 minutes prior to our arrival, he was told by one of the housekeepers that there was a very bad odor coming from room blah blah. Jonathan walked over to room blah blah to investigate. And along with the smell, he noticed there were a lot of flies lingering around the door and window. Jonathan used a key card to open the door, and when he did, he saw a male laying inside the room that was not conscious and not breathing. The smell became very intense for so-and-so, so he closed the door and called 911. Except, what about the girl, the motel worker, the front desk clerk that was with him? She told me she was there. And she's the one that told me that he was dressed. Yeah, so I don't know what the deal is with all the drug talk. But of course, you know, We do know that's what the coroner verbally told Destiny. So, I don't see anything in here talking about drug paraphernalia. I mean, if you want to get down to the nitty gritty, I mean, Sal and I found drug paraphernalia. So, I mean, there's a lot of things that are considered drug paraphernalia. Yeah, Jenny lies, and more lies. I don't know. This whole thing is so bad and so screwed up. Again, cause of death, according to officials, there is no cause of death. The death certificate still says the cause of death is pending. So we're waiting for the coroner's cause of death. No, Clinton, we don't have a coroner's report. We have no toxicology, nothing. Who knows at this rate how long it's going to take. Destiny, when she has time, is going to have to get back on the phone. That coroner's office was exceptionally difficult for her to get a call back from the consistent investigator that was on the scene. She got a call back from some woman that got totally flippant with her when she asked some additional questions about where his cell phone was found. That's the other piece of this. So, yeah. Pending for who knows how long, Jenny. Yeah. I don't know. Josh for watch. Who declined your records request? The Adams County Sheriff's Department? Did they give you a statutory citation as to why they denied the records request? I'd like to read that, please, because this is now a matter of public record. They want you to sign the pecuniary gains statement if you are not proceeding with the records request form. Well, you do have to sign that. The pecuniary gains statement, we have this law in Colorado, and even law enforcement doesn't really know how it pertains to getting public information. It has to do with attorneys soliciting business, is what it comes down to. Okay? So you can't use information to make money. Well, there's this broad definition in that law that doesn't apply to the press, doesn't apply to free speech, and doesn't apply to public information. So, however, in our records, in our Criminal Justice Records Act in Colorado, it is afforded to law enforcement agencies to ask for that signature. So, if you go use their records request form, like I did, I do this all the time. Yes, you have to sign it to get them to release that public information. So I would suggest you sign it and see how they respond to that. And you may have to pay for it. I don't know. Yeah, lumpity worthy. Drug paraphernalia talk. Another means to reduce Cowboy's value as a human. Absolutely. Absolutely. Because, you know, only housed people do non-street drugs. And we don't talk about that, right? We don't talk about, you know, people on South Jones Street dying from, you know, fentanyl overdose from the fentanyl that they bought on the streets, right? So wherever I had this idea that a bag was found, I don't know where I saw that. I hope this bag that they found, whether it was the coroner or the sheriff's department, I hope they get a good test on that bag to figure out what was in that bag. Because if Cowboy was, you know, having a moment of whatever he wants to do with his own body and he wasn't hurting anybody else, I don't give a shit. Until somebody deals him deadly dope. Then it's a different story. That's called murder. So I already know Cowboy's intermittent use. I know how. I know mostly when. I can I can look at Cowboy from a block away and know what's going on with him, because that's how well I know him. So, and I will I will have that conversation with anyone any day. So, okay, the question of vaccination. Destiny is commenting in here. Yes, he was vaxxed because he was persuaded and focused, and it forced down his throat. Baggie was found on the nightstand, and paraphernalia was found in blue case. Where was that, Destiny? Yeah, there was a baggie found on the nightstand. So it's in this case report somewhere? Am I just completely missing it? She's telling me. The property section of the report. Thanks, doll. Sorry I missed that. Let's take a look here. Oh, yes. Thank you, Destiny. There is a page here that outlines property. Now, why wasn't this included in any narrative? This is good. I'm glad we got here. Thank you, Destiny. This is important. So they've got property, and they've got one thing listed. Drug paraphernalia / found in blue case. That's it. Then they have drug paraphernalia / drug baggie found on nightstand. That's it. And then they've got the Family Dollar receipt, the Circle K receipt, autopsy fingerprint card, and autopsy DNA blood spot card. That's all listed in the sheet called property. Thanks, hon. I knew it was in there somewhere. Yeah, so that's the only mention of the drug paraphernalia. And the fact that Destiny was told by the coroner's office it was a suspected drug overdose. Do I have that right now, Destiny? And on to the vaccination talk. We're not having a debate here on... Well, first of all, it's my channel. So I get to have my own beliefs on what the vax is and isn't. The vax was an attempt to get people to comply further for a virus that the federal government didn't know shit about. Okay? So many people signed up for that vaccine, and many people, after getting the vaccine, have mysteriously died. And that's the truth. And if you don't think that's the truth, God rest and bless your soul, because you're ignoring the facts. The federal government is never going to talk about vaccine damage ever again as it pertains to the COVID virus and vaccine. Cowboy, Destiny found a vaccine card in his wallet the day we had the memorial. My heart sank to my feet when she said, "Oh, hey, Regan, I found his vaccine card in his wallet." I went, "Oh my gosh, let me see it." I haven't talked about it. I've been meaning to talk about it, but all this other stuff is compounding everything. But yes, we've got a picture of his vaccine card. And when these street nonprofit coalition workers were coming out to the streets during COVID, trying to convince all of the homeless, many of whom don't even have the mental capacity to have consent to give for a vaccine because they can't read and they clearly can't understand, those people were being targeted the heaviest by the outreach workers for the vaccine. Yeah, it was an interesting time to be out on the street. An interesting time in history. For me to deal with a lot of my friends who are all perfectly healthy physically, have been surviving out here in the sun, eating what they eat, drinking what they drink, living how they live, all seemingly very fine, healthy people. A lot of those people got convinced. A lot of those people listened and took in both sides. My side, me being the only one out there saying, hey, you guys, you need to think about this. And you need to think about what a virus is and how your body responds to when you get sick with common viruses. Okay? I tried to educate them. Did I go out there and say, do not take that vaccine? A couple of them, yeah. That we have that relationship with, absolutely. Cowboy was one of them. I knew that Cowboy had one vaccine. I didn't know he had two and a booster. And I just learned that at his memorial with his vaccine card. And he was counseled and pressured into it 110% by Denver's Department of Public Health and Environment and the Stout Street Clinic. Yep. Yeah, Jenny, well, people can easily replicate it in every state. It's not the easiest thing to do, but it could be done. So whoever put that super chat in here today, thank you very much. You guys, my battery's dying. I need to go do some other things. I want to thank you all for your attention today. I'm going to ask you to just please email the Adams County Sheriff's Department. Let them know that you know, okay? And we expect better. Are we going to get it? I don't know, but I'm not going to lay down and not try. Also, the nonprofit can use your help and your donations. All the ways to donate are in the About section of this channel. Bokomo may have time to put a link up here. If not, that's okay. Blue Unicorn, I'm with you. I chose to be fired than get vaxxed. Luckily, I didn't work for anybody that I had to answer to. I answered to myself and my God. And you can take that vaccine and you can shove it, because you will never, ever. I don't care. In fact, when this bullshit first started, I was in Florida and we flew down there, and we couldn't fly back without masks. We told Frontier to shove it up their ass, and we drove back. And no, they didn't refund our money. But you're not going to tell me what I'm going to do after I pay you to provide me with a service, and then you think you know what's better for my health than I do? There you go. So please, again, thank you, Jenny. The nonprofit can use your financial support, and all the ways to donate are in the About section. If you can give, give. If you can't, that's okay. If you'd like to order off the wish list with Amazon, it's out there. Amanda, my other mod, and I worked on that wish list, and I could send you a link. Unfortunately, these mods don't have a link to that because I haven't informed them of it, and I have not put that in my About section. But if you'd like to order, there's always outreach going on. Even if I'm not doing it, there are other advocates out here making sure that people are getting what they need. Hey, and whoever sent that outdoor shower, thank you very, very much. I don't know who sent that, but somebody sent that to the nonprofit. All the packages and things that you guys send are always greatly appreciated. Thank you very much. Clinton, yeah, I will send it to you later. Sorry. But we did put a wish list together. And you guys, it's just common sense. You can go to Amazon. You can order wet wipes in bulk. You can order sunscreen. You can order any cooling things. We've got a need for Band-Aids, hygiene products, lotion, lip balm, socks, just all those common sense items that can be sent to the nonprofit. And the address is in the About section of the nonprofit if you want to do that. So thank you very, very much, everybody. And hopefully the next live stream will have a better update. And thank you for talking through this with me, mods, and all my people, because my blood pressure is through the roof, and I've got to find a way to manage that. And you can't manage that when you have emotions. And if you are emotionless, you're a fucking tyrant. And I'm not emotionless. And my blood pressure is going to continue to rise when I get emotional because I care about someone. So I watched a documentary last night, and one of the taglines is, "Can you spare some change?" It's called spanging, asking for change. I don't want to ask you for change, but I do want to ask you if you can spare some change. You know what that means. Help me do it. We love you, Destiny, and you know I'm right here for you, and we're just going to continue to work through it. All right, you guys. Thank you.